Hello to everybody. Thank you for coming to this presentation. My name is Beatrice Just, company Millutensil from Italy, Milano area, in the northern of Italy. Our company has been founded in 1955, so we have, last year we had 60 years anniversary, so a very old company, very old tradition in mold and dye spotting press. I'm responsible for spotting press sales across the world. I travel a lot. I meet many people, many customers, many mold makers, and I oversee the research and development of new spotting technologies. Highly specialized, here you have some pictures of dye and mold spotting presses. This is our core business. We are really very highly specialized in that business. Here you find only some of our references. We have customers all over the world. Most of them have more than one machine. And here you have some example of all our customers all over the world. Okay, I will split this presentation in two parts. The first part will focus on the mold making process, and we will try together to find out the importance of the spotting today in the production process. The second part will focus more on the advantages that you can really reach by using a high quality and precise spotting press. Okay, starting from the first part, the importance of spotting in the process. Here you see what is the dream of every mold maker. If you ask this question, most of the mold makers will answer like this: cut to the data or cut to zero. Because every customer, every mold makers know how important it is to cut precise, to use precise machines, to use accuracy, precision. This is clear to everybody. So the question is that this is surely not a dream anymore. There are many good quality machines that can really bring to this result, can really be very efficient, very accurate. The point is another. The point is, can I really avoid the spotting process 100% of the time? Can I really avoid to spot? Many of you probably will say, oh, I only spot a little bit sometimes. Many of you will probably say, no, I don't spot at all. But that's not true. Everybody knows that nowadays everybody still has to spot if you want a final good verification of the mold. The point is that even if the machines are very precise, it is still necessary to spot. Why? The machines, as we know, become more and more precise, but the point is that the molds become more and more complicated, more and more complex. It's very interesting because, especially in Europe, many people are discussing if the molds should be considered to be just tools, just molds, or if from also a legal point of view, you can say that a mold is so complex, so complicated, that is like a machine. Why? Because in the mold you have many electrical parts, many hydraulic parts, parts moving, very complex. So today the molds are becoming really more and more complex. Here you have a nice example of how complex can be a mold. This is a mold by BMW. You see this picture. Here you have all the Stäubli multi-connections on the bottom and on the top. So everywhere you have connections, you have hydraulics, you have electrical, and how it can be very, very complex. Okay, now let's try to focus on the process chain. When we talk about spotting, where is the spotting press and where can I use the spotting press in my process? Here we have a slide describing all the process, starting from the mold design, material sourcing, mold manufacturing, mold assembly, and here, exactly here, before the first mold trial, here we need to spot. Here we need to adjust before the first mold trial. Here we can also have the spotting press, just in case the first mold try was not so successful and you need some mold corrections. So you need to spot again before you have a further sampling. Of course, you should also don't forget the engineering changes. Most of the time, when after the first trial, your customer will ask you probably to modify something because something is changing, new needs, and so all this process you have to begin all the chain and respot again in order to be successful and to check if all these engineering changes were well done. If we want to define this kind of machine, we would say that this is a testing machine. We can call this machine guarantor for quality before the mold is delivered for the first mold trial or, of course, for the production. So it's guarantor of quality. It's a testing machine. If we look at the process again, here and here, in these two moments, in your company, you can really build up quality in your molds. Now, let's concentrate on the advantages that you can have by using a high-end spotting press. The tangible advantages. Before doing that, please, for 10 seconds, try to imagine how do you spot in your company. Of course, many of you will imagine something, and others will imagine something different. Some of you will probably use already the high-end technology, and others not. But just try to imagine what do you do in your shop. Maybe you still spot like this, very dangerous and not comfortable. Come back a second. Probably you will think that this is nothing that doesn't happen anymore. That's not true. Believe me, even in very modern shops, you still see some situation like this. So it's not something that you won't experience at all. Of course, if you use a crane, if you use a forklift, you can absolutely forget the safety and the ergonomics. It's not comfortable to use a forklift or a crane, and it is not absolutely, it's not safe. As you can see from this picture, the risk, you really risk the safety of your operators, and you risk also the safety of molds and dies. You handle really big, sometimes big and very expensive molds and dies. And to open and to close like this is very dangerous for your people and for your molds. There is there is a technology that can really allow you, give you the opportunity to spot in a very safe and comfortable way. You see from this picture, here we have an operator, can really spot in a very safe way, very comfortably. The upper plate of the spotting press can tilt. He can work very close to the upper part of the mold. You can see even the bottom plate, the lower plate, can tilt 70 degrees on each side. So he will first adjust the upper plate, then he tilts the table, and on the other side he can also always adjust in a comfortable way the upper part of the mold. This is a very brand new solution that we have developed. As you can see, in case you manufacture multi-component or multicolor molds, in this case we can propose to have a rotational table so that you can much easily spot this kind of molds. As you know, this kind of molds, if you don't have a rotary table, you have to fix the mold. When you close the mold, you reopen, and then to reclose the mold, you have to turn it. And this, imagine to do that by using a crane, for example. Here, you just fix your mold, and then when you open and you reclose, before reclosing, just by pushing a button, you can turn the table 180 degrees. Okay? And here you can save, of course, a lot of time, especially by the rotational table, but in all the process, you can really reduce, consider that the time, even the time for spotting is money. Nowadays, you have to reduce your cost as more as possible, and this is very important to be able to have a spotting press to reduce all this time. This is a very interesting slide. Many mold makers still do keep record. Many mold makers still do not keep record of the time and cost spent on adjusting and validating the mold. It's very curious, but all over the world, I always find this situation. Most of the people, they really don't have evidence of the cost, of the real cost they spend for. It's like something that people like to forget very easily. If you have a dedicated machine for doing that, it's much easier also to have evidence of the time and the cost for using the spotting press, because you have a dedicated machine to do this job. Okay. This is a very modern concept. Every mold maker should think about it. Today is more and more important to prove the quality. Why should you prove the quality? To prove the quality through reports, documentation, testing is very, very important, because you can clearly and objectively document the quality. Think, for example, about all the quality issues that maybe you can have between you and a customer. Maybe he doesn't want to pay you because he thinks that the quality is not the best, and you have a discussion. If you have a spotting press and you have really a process and a moment where you can certify, you can find your time to say, okay, now the mold is okay. I'm sure about the quality because I have used a high-end machine that is the best for doing that. All the discussion, even with customers or whatever, will be reduced because you have something that can really prove the quality that you have produced. And this is more and more something that should be improved in the companies, but because can really help you, Another point, nowadays it is difficult to find highly trained personnel. To have an accurate press is crucial for automating the spotting process becoming less dependent on technical skills. It's very important today we speak a lot about automation. The spotting press can be part of this automation. And this is a good opportunity to becoming less depending on technical skills. This last slide concerning the new applications is very interesting. When I visit the customers, when I visit many factories in all the countries, I have the feeling that in the last years, many people, they don't just use the machine, the spotting press for spotting, but they are very creative. They find that to use this machine also for other ideas. One of them, for example, is the production of small series and I would say prototyping production. You should always think that a spotting press is a press. And because it is a press, you can use the press as a press, okay? And many people also, for speeding up the payback of a spotting press, they use the press also for producing prototypes or small series. You can do it. It's not. I have many customers doing it and very successfully. Okay. Another point is that actually it's very important to spot under production temperature. So more and more people, in order to make a spotting that is more similar to the production conditions, what do? They spot by using the same production temperature, the same temperature you have in the. And this can bring, of course, by testing the mold under similar conditions that you have in the production, helps you to really check the mold in the best way. Okay. You will ask me, how can a Millutensil spotting press grant higher quality? Here we have, first of all, the control of parallelism. I have put this as a first point because it's very, very important. If you imagine all the examples that we have seen before, the forklift, the crane, but maybe also an old press, every time you open, you handle, you close by using systems that are not parallel. Imagine the crane. You come with the crane like this and you close, but you never know how are you closing. Maybe like this or maybe like this. Who knows? Who knows? How can a crane grant you to close parallel? It has no sense. So every precise spotting press has the parallelism as one of the most important. How can we check this parallelism? What we do, especially on bigger machines, we use encoders, we use metrical wheels. We have 4 columns on the machine. We use one metrical wheel on each corner, at each corner. So we have 4 of them. And then we go up and down with the upper plate. And these 4 encoders read at the same time these 4 values and compare them continuously. If I see, if there is a difference between these encoders or these encoders, doesn't matter in which direction, the machine stops immediately. You have, there is no consequences for the machine and no consequences for the mold. Imagine when you close for the first time, the first spotting is very delicate. You should close very, very slowly, very gently. Here is very important to have this system because in case there is a slide not coming back or you forget a hammer between the mold part, half parts or whatever. In any case where there is a danger of that the parallelism is not parallel anymore, you have the possibility the machine stops and the pressure sinks very quickly, so that you don't have any consequences on the mold and on the machine. Here you see a nice picture of this of the screen. You can see on real time. You can see the 4 values, so you know exactly how the upper plate is behaving. If it's behaving like this or like this, exactly. Well, how is he moving? And this is very important. Then we have, of course, more classical features like the injection unit. You can inject, if you want, wax. The wax has a shrinkage of 0.6%, so very liquid, like water, can really go everywhere. You can really check the parts. You can see the parts. There are customers making some of these wax parts and giving them with the mold together as a proof, again, how important is documentation, how important is to give the parts. In this case, it's not a first trial, but it are wax parts that you can show to the customer. Auxiliary cylinders. We have said that in a complex mold you have many movements, hydraulic movements. The spotting press is also the right opportunity also to check all these hydraulic connections, all these hydraulic auxiliary cylinders and movements. The ejection unit, of course, on the machine you can check if the ejector works properly, the ejection unit works properly. And here we have also the energy accumulator. This is patented by Millutensil since many years. The energy accumulator is something very simple. You know, when you go, it's very simple because you can imagine when you go to the dentist will ask you to close the mouth like this, and to see what he does is to see if by closing the mouth there are some teeth touching before, okay, because it's not parallel. When the mouth is not parallel and you have perhaps a teeth that is a little bit exceeding, the material is exceeding, when you close the mouth, the dentist will notice it. This is exactly, and he will remove the exceeding material. This is exactly the same. You know Prussian blue, you put Prussian blue between in your mold, you close, and then when you close, by using a clamping force, of course, you can spot, you can see if there is some exceeding material that you will, of course, you will take away, you will polish and whatever. But this accumulator works like a hammer. You know the hammer. Everybody knows the hammer by spotting. It's a very old method, but everybody knows it. How can you spot? How did they spot in the past, or still now? They put some color, and they used with the hammer to do like this. Okay? This is we try with this device to simulate the hammer. This is not like a clamping force that normal standard clamping force is like this. The hammer effect is like this. Okay? So the Prussian blue, when you use the hammer, you can really see the high spots very well. Okay? And this is something that also we can use for better spotting. Of course, you see the touch panel. Everything should be very easy, very fast. You don't have to lose time on the spotting press. Everything must be clear. We have a diagnostic system. If something is not working, you can see on the screen is flashing, and you know exactly what's and where is happening. Okay, this is a slide that I like so much. And I always say to the mold makers, let's think about your job. Let's think about what you do. A mold maker, he doesn't. You think, of course, that you produce, you manufacture molds and you sell molds, but in reality, the mold maker is not. If you think the mold maker produces parts. Why he produces parts? Because your customer is happy with your molds if he can produce high quality parts. Your customer is not interested in the mold itself. Your customer is interested if your mold works well and if he can earn money in using your mold, if he can have a value in making parts, good parts, for long time, many parts, more parts, more money for him. He is interested in that. And for that reason, the quality should be in the final parts. And all the spotting will grant to your customer that the mold can produce good parts, many parts for a long time. Okay? So for resuming, the technology of it means that there is a modern technology available that can really give you the chance to make the spotting, to adjust the molds in a safe way, in a comfortable way. Of course, in shorter time. Shorter time, it means you save money. You are more competitive because you can cut the cost concerning the spotting. You can have more evidence on time and cost because you have a clear machine dedicated to that in the process. That is very important. And you can prove your quality to your customer through documentation, by producing good reports, because you have a machine that is dedicated. And of course, you can increase the automation. It means you have a machine dedicated for that, and you can reduce the skills of technical people. High quality spotting at the end, it means satisfied customers. Okay. Brian, company Cavalier Tool and Mold. He's a customer of Millutensil. I have asked to Brian just to bring his experience and to share with you the experience with this technology.
So Beatrice asked me just to take a quick minute to talk to you guys. So through transition, through Cavalier, we're 40 years in business, and we've done a lot of growing, we've done a lot of expanding. And she asked me to speak a little bit of the spotting, and through years and months of talking and communication, when we think of a tool shop, and we're high pressure injections, I don't know if you guys are spotting dies or not, but we're on the injection side, the mold side. The big focus in most tool shops is typically CNC, and then you look at EDM, and then you look at spotting, and I don't know if everyone else agrees, but we see a lot of that certainly in the city of Windsor. And what we've looked at as the years are coming in front of us, every customer has the same problem. It's always a reduced timeline. Nobody has the time that they once did to build the product. What was 24 weeks was then 20, which is now 18, and soon to be 16 or 14. So we see that, and we're aware, and we address it all the time. So we look at solutions, and a lot of the solutions are on the cut side. You got to cut it better, multi-axis. We're going to drill faster. We're going to mill faster. We're going to burn better. So when customers come through, customers are always measuring you up. They're looking at what you can do, how you do it, and why you would do it. So at the end of the day, like Beatrice says, we're selling the quality part. That's what they want. We as mold makers are metal removal experts, right? The guy that removes the most metal the fastest wins. So you look for all these different things. But when selling to customers, one thing became very apparent. We were always selling insurance. They wanted to know that what they got was not only accurate of a quality standpoint, but would certainly last a long period of time. And we all saw everything go to kind of China and come back. And that was very important for us. So we invested in a very small machine. We had a lot of older presses, homemade, and some that were store-bought and such. But we ended up getting a Millutensil BV30, which was a little bit smaller than most. And the big focus on that was really for the two-shot rotational. So we do a lot of rotational molds. And our thought process going into that was that we would be able to save the molder or the customer a lot of time. And what we meant by that is we would build the mold, but it was very common that you would go into a production environment, they would pull something and run your tool, and you'd go back and forth. So we viewed this as maybe a solution to be able to take a lot of cost out. So from a competitive standpoint, we would save 15 or 20 grand against the competitor on each and every mold we quoted. And was it right? Yeah, check mark, it worked. But in taking a lot of customers through, we realized it was a little bit deeper and a little bit further than that. Customers would see what we do on the cut side, the burn side, and it came to the spotting side. And it was a little bit of insurance. a lot of the customers looked at us and said, hey, look, you're looking at the whole thing. You know, you often talk about design for manufacturing and how you build your molds. We've all had those conversations. And again, what does the customer care about? What happens in his plant. So from the design to the cut to the burn to the spotting, we found that when we got into the Millutensil and we really demonstrated the commitment to the customer, the capability, and you know, the days of shooting molds 3, 4, 5, 6. I've heard some of our competition, you know, 8 times they're in a press. We think it's ridiculous. And using things like this really is propping us up against our competition. They're seeing how we design, how we cut, how we burn, and in turn how we spot what ends up on their dock in a greatly reduced period of time has advanced us. So, you know, complementary to the Millutensil product as well as the advancements in cut and burn, it really is the whole package that people look at. It's kind of like buying a car. You know, you go to buy a car and this guy sells tires. Well, he cares about his tires, and this guy cares about this and that. But you buying the car, you want the freaking wipers to work when it's raining. You want the thing to drive in the snow. You got to park it in the garage. All these things are important to you. And when we really looked at the customer and what they wanted, it was more than just the surface. It was the longevity. So the cost argument always comes up. Well, it's too much money. I can't afford it. And I always come back and say, you can't not afford it. And what I mean by that is when I go to the customer, we encourage them to look at the total cost of ownership. Sure, you're building a mold, or you're buying a mold rather, and we're building the mold, but the total cost of ownership with our product is less. If Tony's 100 grand and I'm 120 grand, ours is still cheaper. Why? We looked at the whole picture and what you're going to get during the duration of the molding process or the total tool life of that product. So by cutting a job closer, by burning it more accurate, spotting it more accurate, we're selling insurance. It's perceived value. The customer pays you more. They're happier with it, and the total time went down. So we've since ordered now a 306, which is a very large Millutensil. I believe it's just under 150-inch bed, and a 256 is right around the corner. Because it's really what customers want. They want the full package, much like a car. You know, if people think of a car. Who would buy a car with an automatic and no air conditioning? Nobody would. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think about it. You might with your lawnmower, but you wouldn't with your car. And a lot of molders are the same way. They want to know that when that sucker goes in the press, it's going to be, you know, cranking out parts day in, day out. So does it work? Yes. Does it make us better? Yes. In days past, everything was kind of rough. Everyone had stock. We would always joke. We'd say, precision cut, hammer fit. Right? Who hasn't done that? Spend, you know, 3 weeks on CNC and then go beat the hell out of it, weld it all over the place, smush it together and deliver it. Those days are behind us. We don't do that anymore. You know, we have customers show us how competitors build their molds and what they look for. So now we want to cut very accurate. We want to burn very accurate. And we're not spotting like in days past with the big 4-inch metablos, you know, grinding off stock. We're more tickling the metal. We're dusting it down and we're getting it tighter and tighter and tighter. Do we go a second time? Typically. Usually after a sample, we'll look at vents, you know, different things. But do we spot a job or are we in and out of a molding machine for 7, 8, 10 tryouts? Not a chance. Can't make money. So it's a combination. You know, we always joke at Cavalier, we say it's people, process, equipment. It's the right people doing the right things on the right equipment. And for us, Millutensil is a big part of that success. We need to know that we can put our products in there and demonstrate to our customer through the design, through the build, and through delivery to their back door, their dock, their loading dock, that they're buying something, they're buying the insurance. So for us, it's very important, and hence our relationship with Millutensil and the commitment for the project and a few more presses on order. So I'm very proud to have the Millutensil.